Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another day of 30 NSG. On today's show, oh, my camera's a little off. We didn't. Oh, hold on a second. Let me fix the color correction. I forgot that I had to turn on that camera. There we go. There we go. What's going on, Travis? On today's show, we're going to go over some of the news stories. I don't really have anything planned because I had my son's concert this morning. So we're going to just kind of go down the news stories. There's a story about Diablo. Haven't read it myself. I just posted a couple stories last night, late night. So we'll cover those. We're going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. And this is not a bad story in any way, shape, or form. We're going to kind of try to break down how many copies were sold for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And if true, obviously, it's just me doing math and figuring it out. And it feels like it's way under because they haven't shared the numbers of sales for PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. But we can kind of figure it out based on the picture they posted about how many people played it. So that's what we're going to do this morning. I want to talk about what happened this morning real fast. When at my son's concert, it's first and second grade, right? And people gotta calm down, right? People gotta calm down. So obviously you show up. The concert started at 8:30. People showed up at like 8:10, and it was first grade first, then second grade after them, and all the parents showed up, and you could just tell. I mean, it was a great turnout for the first and second grade. But you could tell a lot of people didn't want to be there, and they were complaining that they had to be there at 8:10, and they had to complain at 8:30, and they were complaining that they had to wait for the first grade to finish before they got to the second grade class. But there was this one lady, one mother, that literally took it. It was like a. I'm sure it'll be posted up on social media sometime later. But there's this one lady that just started losing her mind, and it was because she couldn't see her kid in the group, right? There was this, there's got to be 100 kids up on stage, and in rows, different heights and different things. And she lost, like, this was a Karen. This was a Karen 100%. And she started speaking really loud so people could hear her. Then the teachers came over, asked her what the problem was. And she's like, no. And I was just like looking at her, and I'm like, what's about to go down here? Is there going to be a fist fight? I'm checking people out. I'm looking, right? I know I don't look like I'm a scrapper, okay? But I looked at the boyfriend, husband, whatever. He was embarrassed. But if you had to do something to the girl, that he's going to take some shots at some people, right? I'm trying to assess the situation. And she keeps getting louder and louder. The kids are performing. She's screaming. They try to pull her outside. And I'm just like, what are you doing, lady? Right? So they kept getting louder and louder. So I walk over to her and go, hey, look, we're all here for our kids, and you're making a scene. I didn't come here to watch you. I came here to watch my son. Can you just take it outside? She started cursing at me and stuff. And I was just like, just take it outside. Whatever your issue is, just take it outside. So then the vice principal came. They took her outside. They took her to the stuff. I was just like, what is wrong with people? How selfish of a person are you that you show up and there's literally hundreds and hundreds of parents there, and this lady's trying to make a scene? I was just like, I can't believe this. I couldn't believe this. I thought for sure someone was getting punched. What's going on, Super Dave? Sounded like she needed a good slap. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but just trying to assess the situation that was going on. Yeah, I don't know what it is, brain. I was just like, I don't know what's happening right now. I was like, I didn't pay admission to come to see a show, but I didn't want to come and see this show either. People are losing their minds, man. People are losing their minds. So that was my morning. And we just got done. It was a nice little concert. They ended up singing "We All Live in a Yellow Submarine." I was just really shocked my son knew all the words. So, did it respectfully? Yeah, no, I did it super respectfully. I just walked up and said, hey, I was like, I don't know what the issue is, but can you just take it outside? And she's like, F you, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I didn't come to watch you. I was like, I came to watch my son and the other kids. I was like, just take it outside. Whatever your issue is, just take it outside. They had to bring the cop, because you know there's always a cop in the schools now. They brought the cop, they escorted her out. Right? It's just like, what's your deal, man? What's your deal? I don't think she could afford Wheaties. I don't know. It's actually it's a charter school. It's not like it's it's not a public school. It's a charter school. It's a nice school, right? I'm always surprised, and every time there's a function going on or some sort of concert, there are so many parents that show up in support of their kids, and I'm just amazed by it. Because, I don't know, as a kid, when we had concerts, a lot of the times my parents couldn't make it because they were working 2 jobs. You know what I mean? So the culture has completely changed in that form of, like, coming to school, especially when you're younger. You know what I mean? Make that impression. And stay out. All right. I want to bring up the first topic, right? It's nothing major, right? It's nothing major, but this is I'm going to open this up. Where is the other one? And right, this is not a big thing. This is just a talking point, right? This is what's going on, Corey? So, we have this picture here, right? Hogwarts Legacy, and this is the last gen system, right? Or this gen system, right? And this is a week after. And they say 406. This is taken back 1 week after Hogwarts Legacy came out, right? 406 million hours played, 674 million magical plants grown, 405 million potions brewed, 2.25 billion dark wizards defeated. Now, we know there wasn't 15 million sold. I think there was 12 million sold in that time. But I took the 15 million, okay, and I did some math, right? So we took the 406 million hours, and we put the 15 million in, and it averages around 26 hours per person. Now, obviously, I put in 100, so that's not but it's just a gist, just a general number, right? So about 26 hours per person of the 15 million people that bought Hogwarts Legacy. Now, we don't have actual numbers of what they sold this time around, but think about this. PlayStation 5, I think there's about 30 million PlayStations out there. 30 million PlayStations out there, PlayStation 5s. And then there's about 18 million Xbox Series X's and S's, right? So in total, there's about 48 to 52 million next-gen systems, and they sold 15 million copies on this current gen system, which is that's a huge number if you think about it. Because if you look at a game like a God of War, and I know it's on one system, but there's 122 million systems. They sold like 8 million copies when the game launched on PlayStation 5. So you look at the discrepancy of numbers, right? So now let's look at this number they posted. And this is about this is on, so far, newest classes on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One has achieved 17.2 million hours played. Now, look at the difference. In 1 week, there was 406 million hours played for Hogwarts Legacy on the next gen. And with 1 week past now for Hogwarts Legacy, there was 17.2 million. That's like a 90, and you could check my math here, but I did quick math. That's around 95, 96% drop from last gen, or from current gen to last gen. Okay. Now, if we take the average of 26 hours per average player compared to the 17.2 million hours played, and obviously if it's 26, it comes to around, they've only sold, or only, I shouldn't say sold, but there's only about 652,000 players that are playing right now on the last gen, which is mind-blowing to me, because I thought for sure, right, and I'm on record saying this, I thought Hogwarts Legacy was going to pass 30 million copies easily between last gen and this gen. But it seems, because of the delay of the 2 months or 3 months since the last, since when Hogwarts came out, because it came out in February, okay, it seems like because they waited so long to bring it on the PlayStation 4, they either kind of forgot about getting it for the PlayStation 4, or maybe they gonna wait to buy it when the PlayStation 5 comes out. So right now, they have less than 1 million additional sales, as best as I can tell, based on the numbers they're showing us here, which I think is mind-blowing that you sold 15 million copies, and then the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One right now are only less than 1 million people that bought it based on the math of the hours and stuff. Now, obviously, we don't know the sales. I don't know the sales. We're just looking at the amount of hours played for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One compared to the hours played for this gen consoles. PlayStation 4 Hogwarts Legacy, they did with the last generation consoles running fine and better. Oh yeah, no, that's not the issue. We're not talking about anything about the smoothness or anything, Jesse. It came out and it kind of just went under the radar. A lot of people didn't talk about it. Just the smooth people that had it got it and started playing it. So if you have the deluxe edition for the Series XS and PlayStation 5, but you had the last gen, everything carries over, but you have to remove your external hard drives. So how does that gaming fire? So you're saying the people that bought the PlayStation 4 are counted into that 15 million for Hogwarts Legacy? You see what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know if that 15 million is including the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One sales already, or it's additioned on top of that. Because if there was 12 million after the first week or two, or the first 2 weeks, and then you're telling me they only sold 2.5 million, 3 million copies for the last 3 months, that seems pretty hard, hard to believe. Controversy, high sales, high controversy goes down, sales go down. What do you mean? Let me read that in English again. Well, don't forget, you don't have losers screaming boycotted anymore. No, but that's not the case. What I'm saying is a lot of people pre-ordered, and then they canceled those pre-orders, right? Like, the company itself canceled people's pre-orders because it was supposed to come out in February, but then they delayed it 2 months, and they delayed it 1 more or 3 more weeks or whatever it was, right? So, again, the reason I'm bringing this up, Travis, is because I thought it was going to sell like 30 million copies. I said between 25 and 30 million copies. If I'm not mistaken, I think we had a Hogwarts. That's Hogwarts Broom Racing. Did we have... We had a conversation somewhere. Let's see. Hogwarts sales? Comes even close. Hogwarts numbers. Suicide Squad is only on the next gen. 2 Hogwarts sales. I could have sworn I said it somewhere. I said the sales number somewhere in our chat here. I remember saying 30 million. And the reason I thought that was a shoe-in because there's 122 million PlayStation 4s out in circulation. 122 million PlayStation 4s. There's 88 or 82 million Xbox Series 1s out there, right? So in total, there's like 200 million units that could purchase Hogwarts Legacy. I was thinking even like 1%, 2% pick it up on the old gen, right? That they would get the numbers. Because to get 15 million sales on the new gen system, and there's only 50 million total between the Xbox Series X, and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and X. There's only about 50 million units, and they sold 15 million units for the next gen. Yet for the old gen, there's almost 200 million units out there, and they only sold about 650,000, which is pretty crazy. Again, these are just numbers based on the amount of hours they're showing here compared to what they showed for the first 2 weeks or whatever it was for this. What I'm saying is, not being controversial anymore, people are like looking at just a game after people stop whining. It's not just I'm getting it to say it's screw the type of thing. Yeah, but there's still the people that are Hogwarts or Harry Potter fans, Travis. You know what I mean? There's still people that are Harry Potter fans just in general. So you would think that they would buy the game regardless if they were trying to not boycott it or not. You know what I mean? No. Obviously, obviously 30 million. I think they'll hit 30 million lifetime sales. That's not what I'm talking about, though. We were talking about sales within the first month or two. And I said we won't know the first day one sales for a really long time. And if the number's not high enough, they'll never share those numbers. If they're high enough, right? Usually when they say stuff like this, they're bragging because they know the hours are out there, right? 15 million units, 460 million hours, and whatnot. I find that they have more players are on last-gen consoles than the next-generation consoles, and that shows the love and care about the last-gen console players. Well, it usually takes 3 to 4 years for people to move over to the next system, right? I know people that are still on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. They haven't upgraded to the 4. They probably won't even go to the 4. They'll just get the 5, but they won't get the 5 or the Xbox Series X or S until about 3 or 4 years into this console cycle, right? So there's a lot of people that don't move. So they're still supporting the last-gen consoles. That's here nor there, though, Jesse. We're talking about, I thought for sure there was more people buying it on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox Series 1, right, than there was on the SX/PlayStation 5. I just thought it was weird, especially if you look at like the Dark Wizards Defeated. Like, look at Dark Wizards Defeated, 2.25 billion. Dark Wizards Defeated, 45.4 million. That's a hell of a lot less people playing the game and going out for the Dark Wizards. And what that tells me is the Dark Wizards are a little later in the game, so not a lot of people are moving through the game faster. Now, obviously, these numbers are going to get bigger as the game's out longer. I was just comparing these based on the time frame they posted the first one compared to the time frame they posted this second one. It just looks, obviously, there's a lot less people playing on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One than there is on the next-gen consoles. And I wonder if those people will pick it up at a later date once they pick up a new system. So you play a lot of older games. What do you think of Immortals, an Avium director, saying this main inspiration is Hex? I don't know what that. I didn't know the article. I didn't see what you're talking about, Travis. So I don't know what the context of what he's saying. I have my friends have a PlayStation 4 still, and they're happy with it. Yeah, and they'll stay there, right? Like my brother-in-law doesn't have a. I don't even think he has. I think he has an Xbox One. I think he's stuck in the 360 era. I don't think he has a One. I know he bought his son a Switch. I don't think he picked up an X. I think he's missed this last gen system completely. You'll post in Discord? All right. If it's a submitted story, like if it's a news story about video games, just post it in the submitted story section. All right. The next thing I want to talk about. Let me see what this Immortal one that you're putting out here. I think I'll read that later, Travis, and then we'll talk about it because I didn't bring that up. I'm not gonna read that right now. So I'll read it later and we'll talk about it later. All right. So I want to talk. I haven't read this. I posted this last night. In the submitted stories. I was like, I saw the title. I didn't read it. Right. I was just like, it's a title. Let me see it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So this article comes from PC Gamer. Okay. Robin Valentine is the publisher, or the published by. Okay. It says class balance is still an absolute joke in Diablo 4, but the game has a far bigger problem. Let's see what that is. Again, I haven't read this. Don't know what he's saying, if it's garbage or not garbage. But the title got me intrigued. So he says, it's fair to say that the last time we got a Diablo 4, during the 2 initial weekend betas, class balance was a complete mess. Sorcerers were nuking everything in sight, while barbarians struggled to lift their axes. Necromancers were standing around AFK watching their skeletons clear the entire dungeons for them. Blizzard quickly promised buffs and nerfs, so heading into the final beta, the server slam, I was most curious to see what the changes were would amount to in a result. I'm left with even less confidence that Blizzard has any idea on how to make this game fun. It says barbarians, at least, felt a little stronger than they did before, and it wasn't too backbreaking to beat the Den Mother this time around. But they're still substantially slower, weaker, and less versatile than anyone else. Sorcerers remain walking nukes that can also kill. They can still kill enemies 3 screens away. Meanwhile, necromancers got nerfed so haphazardly that they had to get rebuffed halfway through the beta test. Because their skeleton minions were now dissolving and persistent bosses and leaving them plinking away with pitful rage spells. In short, class balance is still an absolute joke, and worse still, Blizzard has also shown no sign of having any version of what the direction changes should be going in. Sure, it's still a beta, but at launch is due in June 6th with early access on June 1st, and very unlikely to see substantial tweaks before then. Right now, they're looking for day one, and sorcerers and barbarians are not so much playing different games as operating on different planes of reality, which is not false. But really, the class imbalance is just a symptom. The real problem is that it doesn't matter whether your favorite classes is firing on all cylinders or shooting blanks. None of them are much fun to play. Okay, he says class dismissed. For barbarian, the game is boring because in the long, slow slog, whacking and sponging health bars. For sorcerers, the game is boring because it's just throw out the handful of very similar spells and work it in all situations and things melt in your presence. At no end of spectrum has Blizzard found satisfying, interesting gameplay loops other than endless treadmills of watching the numbers incrementally go up. As I lament during this last beta, Blizzard hasn't learned anything from the action RPG combat in the 11 years since Diablo 3. I go so far as saying a step backwards, as went into then, and then fights are slow and awkward, and with the potentially interesting combos or loops hamstrung by long cooldowns that prevent any kind of satisfying rhythm. Characters building in the worst of both worlds, streamlined or restrictive, with the clear infinite path of characters taking a fidelity enough to theorycraft as most matters of hunting for keywords. Now, even healing is wrong-headed. Spellcasters can just ignore their health, while melee characters have to plan every boss fight around when working potions or going through the drop. Completely uninteresting subsystems. There are only 2 ways to die. Either your character that can't avoid getting hurt, or you can simply run out of resources because your DPS isn't high enough to get the next step in the fight. Or your character that never gets hurt, but it also takes a stray hit from an obnoxious long crowd control effect and get battered down before you unfreeze and then chug the potion. Neither is satisfying or dramatic. Let's break that down for a second. I know each of these things is going to be different for everybody that played the game, right? Somebody that's like, well, I played Barbarian, I had no problems. And then someone else is like, this is fucking lame, right? I played the open beta and closed beta back in March. I played it, every single character, got every single character to 25 except the rogue, which I got him up to 20. Okay. And I had fun during that open and closed beta. This time around, I only played the druid. Now, when I played the open beta and closed beta, the barbarian and druid were very underwhelming. Okay. And back then I was playing on tier 1, right? Because I just wanted to play all the characters, see who they were, and went through. And the pool, and obviously they buffed the barbarian since then. They buffed my God, my brain just went dead. The druid. They buffed the druid. They nerfed the necromancer. They nerfed pretty much everybody else or whatever. And they're still strong. In this test, the druid I was playing on tier 2, and I'll tell you, in the open world, it felt fine, right? I never really died in the open world. Some of the events, I died a little bit. Going into the stronghold, it was brutal. It was brutal. And not in a complaining way, but it was just sort of I felt like it was a good balance between, like, I shouldn't be doing enough damage because I didn't have the right weapons and gear. So I had to come back later. And I did. I went back to the stronghold later once I had better gear. And it felt a little bit more balanced. But there is some weird balance, because we talked about this yesterday. If you're a druid and I'm a druid, or you're a barbarian and I'm a barbarian, and you happen to get good random drops in your favor, okay, you're going to have a better time than somebody that doesn't get the drops that they're supposed to get. Or I shouldn't say supposed to get, but didn't get drops that you want to get, okay? They just, fundamentally, your character's not going to do as much damage whatsoever. right? Then there's the other way where you put the time in. And again, this is a small window because we were level 20. We don't know the whole thing. You can't really base the whole game off of what you played in the beta. But the characters did feel a little underwhelming this time around. Legendaries weren't dropping, and I'm not complaining about that. I only got 2, and that was from my purchase from the vendor, not actually got in the game itself. Once I got those pieces of gear, I went back to the stronghold, and I could beat the boss with just those 2 pieces of gear. So it is kind of a weird balance based on, you know, if you're going to get the drops or not. Let me see what you guys are saying in chat. People who say this game is hard are probably using the worst skills combinations and putting any gear that has a higher green number rather than looking at the affixes and stats. I'll agree with that, Horseman, but I'll also say what I just said, where some people are not getting the gear that they need to get, right? I know what I need, and I couldn't beat the stronghold with the boss, and I was fine with it. I was like, I'll just come back later. That's exactly what I did. I found better gear. Okay, went back in, had a couple things, gems put on my weapons, went back to the stronghold, and then I beat it, and it felt good, right? But the balance here for people is that time put into what you get. Some people are going to have luck, some people are not going to have luck, and the people that have luck, okay, are going to have an easier time than the people that don't have luck. Ford says, I agree with Horseman. I played Barbarian, all 3 betas, without much issues. Did you play on Tier 1 or Tier 2, Ford? Just curious. Because I played on Tier 2 this time around, and Tier 1, and Tier 1 was much easier, no issues whatsoever. Tier 2 was a little hard for at least the Druid. Go on, Water. I see this argument, and there's also truth and pretty much obvious that venting personal frustrations, not the game overall. Well, no, he's sounding like the article's sounding like what he's seeing overall, not his personal. I mean, there is personal stuff in there, but overall, he's not wrong about what he's saying. How's the game worse than Diablo 3, or is it? I never played Diablo, so I wouldn't know. Jared, it's this Diablo 4 is more like Diablo 2. Diablo 3 kind of, I mean, it's still Diablo. It's just kind of different style, the way they did certain things. Is this from IGN? No, this is from PC Gamer. He sounds like he's expecting a totally different game altogether. I haven't read through the whole article yet, but I did notice some of the stuff he is saying, Water, so I wouldn't say that he's completely wrong. Not sure why where the hell is that? Not sure why the Druid looks like a bear and don't mean the animal. Early Druid builds favor the Shaman build. Elemental, the crowd control. Once you get higher levels, you'll be able to. Yeah, but isn't it kind of weird though, Water? Let's have that conversation a little bit, right? I was doing a lightning build, right? I was doing a storm lightning type of build, and not until I hit 20 did I feel like I was doing any kind of damage, whatever, right? It was like a weird balance with the Druid, so I had to do melee damage to build up my elemental so I could then use my elemental stuff, right? And that balance was kind of weird because I was getting destroyed real fast, especially on like the pools and stuff from the bosses and stuff. And again, that's me not complaining. I was like, all right, well, I have to adjust some things. But you're saying that you have to do this, otherwise your Druid's obsolete. Shouldn't that be kind of a balance change? You know what I'm saying? Like, there shouldn't be a meta. There shouldn't be a meta, especially early on in the game. You should be able to test a whole bunch of stuff out, because if there's a meta, then why have the other abilities? You see what I'm saying? I had 2 legendaries, but it's also clear it's a legendary as is not common. I hate when I see boss explode and the legendary items and their very liberal use of term legendary. Tier 2, all 3 betas. I enjoy playing Sorcerer, but at level 4, I was like, this is broken as hell. It seems like the balanced early builds work more so on group formations, especially in dungeons. See, I played solo. I didn't play with anybody, so I wouldn't know about the buffs or nerfs on this last beta. I did kind of play some events with people, and it worked out a little bit better. No, I mean, you could play how you want. It's just what I've noticed from playing Druid as being a Druid main. Right, but what I'm saying is if what you've noticed, let's just say that's it, right? Let's take that, where if you don't play this way, then the druid's going to suck, right? So you have to kind of like go towards that mentality of, well, if you're going to be a druid from levels 1 through 50, you got to go this route. Horseman says, if you go to the first world event in the cemetery outside the main, that's all I did, Horseman. That's all I did. That's exactly what I did. And that's the only way I got my legendaries. But think about that as a standard play, right? Okay, the game comes out. Now, you can play how you want, right? Each their own. The reason I went to the cemetery, because I watched Majestic, and he said go there or whatever. I was like, all right, I want to hit level 20, so that's exactly what I did. As soon as I got to the cemetery, I went to the cemetery and just did that. I got from 0, right, or actually it was like level 3, from level 3 to level 20 in about 3.5 hours. Okay? And that's all I did, right? Not once, again, this is not me complaining, this is just me telling you what happened. Not once in my 3.5, I played 4 hours, but I got to level 20 within 3.5, right? Not once did I get one legendary drop. I just kept playing that event over and over and over and over, and then I got the currency, went to the vendor, and then got my 2 legendaries in the thing. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So, and not until did I get those legendaries could I go into the stronghold that I tried before, and I couldn't kill the stronghold boss, okay? Which I'm not expecting to kill the stronghold boss. It was just night and day compared to when I was level 15, went to the stronghold boss. Now, everyone levels up with you, right? So no matter where you go in the world, everyone's your level, and I was getting destroyed. Then I went back to the cemetery, got enough stuff, went back, got my glove, got a chest piece, put a gear on, went back to the stronghold, and then it was night and day. I completely destroyed the stronghold, super easy at that point, right? And I get that's fine, right? But at the same time, to get lucky enough to get the gear, some people might get it early, some people might not, and there's a balance issue there with that. There's a balance issue. Ford says, one issue I have, I hope it is fixed, that the completely one part of the main quest gives you a ward, dagger, and then the only one class rather than being something for the class you are on. I ran the dungeon near Shava a few times, got some of the world, not even at the events, but yeah, cemetery was efficient. Yeah, 100%. The drops I got from Shava were not that great, but they were probably better than you were getting at the event, though, right? Just on normal. And then how high were you when they did the Ashava fight? I hope it was level 20. This is why I feel like most won't make it past the capstone dungeons and give it up because of the scaling. Hopefully, they're a little generous with the newer players. Yeah, the leveling thing is going to be hard, right? I'm okay with a little bit of pushback and struggle because I don't want to like run through the game as super easy water. I want a little pushback and go, all right, what do I have to do? Maybe I'll change this up. But I'm also a person that if I can't beat something, I'll put a pin in it and come back later, right? Because I don't need to beat it right then and there, especially since I'm like soloing stuff. I'm talking. I don't know if it's a level 30 horseman. It's the one that was just southwest of the cemetery. I think it was the southwest of the cemetery, where the boss is the werewolf. All right, let's go back to the article here for this next section's horrible bosses. Horrible bosses. Okay. During the Server Slam, everyone had one goal in mind: to kill the world boss, Ashava. Okay, they claimed exclusive cosmetics, but the Great Beast only ended up being the perfect capstone of Diablo 4's problems. As Fraser discovered, fighting it was just as long, tedious slog that made every part of the character feel meaningless. Playing a tanky build, pointless because you die in one hit from the enormous AoE attacks. I'll talk about this in a second. Playing DPS, enjoying watching an enormous health bar slowly tick down while you also spam and spell, and no visible reactions to playing support. No, you aren't. That doesn't exist. Playing Necromancer, sorry, all your skeletons got banished in double hell, and they ain't coming back. All of a slow, tedious grinding or getting to level 20 accumulated in even slower, more tedious grind of the fight. Sure, it didn't help that Blizzard made bizarre decisions to point us all at level 25 boss, while in the beta level cap was reduced to 20. But even faster, well, it's a test. It's a test. Even faster, easier versions of the fight would have been any less dull. It's also core combat is simply half-baked. Blizzard never found the fun, whether you're venturing alone, teaming up with the flimsy MMO-like activities. I'm more sure than ever the Diablo 4 is bringing nothing new to the action RPG table. It's big and shiny and pretty, good looking, and a lot of people are going to give it a pass for that. Maybe for mindless pushing through while you watch TV, I'll do a job for a lot of them. But not only is there no innovation or creativity there's whatsoever, I don't know about that, there isn't even a basic understanding of how to make an action RPG engaging. And the effective tweaks made so far are sure sign that one isn't developing anytime soon. From a series of genre-defining as Diablo and a studio stored at Blizzard, we should expect far better. But hey, servers did hold up remarkably well, and I'll give them that. At least it didn't have a queue up of my gruel. All right, so the boss fight, there's a lot of factors that go into the world boss fight. I didn't do the boss fight this time around, but I watched people do the boss fight this time around, right? And the people that couldn't complete it, one, half their team was under level 20. Right? Half their team wasn't even level 20. And that fundamentally is broke by Blizzard, right? Now, obviously, in the open world, and you happen to walk in and you're like, oh, there's a boss fight. Cool. But to say that anyone can come in, level 1, level 5, level 12, level 15, those people are going to do absolutely zero damage. It's literally a waste of time that they're there, because not only are they hurting the team because they're doing no damage, okay, but then when the boss wins, they get something, but great. It won't even be a level of what they can... They're going to go through that gear super fast because it's such a low level anyway, right? So there was a lot of problems with the world boss. One, I think there should be a cap at that thing in the world, right? You can't enter the zone of the boss. If he's level 25 and you're level 20, minimum 20. Minimum 20, because... Then if you played it on tier 2 to tier 1, people were beating it on tier 1 more than people that were beating it on tier 2, okay? Now, there were people beating it on tier 2, but it just seems not plausible for the majority of the people during the beta. Now, obviously, during the regular game, you're not going to be, that much lower, because last time we did it 2 times in the open beta, right? The closed beta, we went to go to the boss, we didn't beat it. We were close, but we didn't do it. The open beta back in March, we did beat it, right? But again, the first fight that I had, we had people there that were way under level 20, let alone level 25. And the second time around, we had majority people that were at 25, and that's why we beat it. So I don't want to say the boss fight's in a bad state, shape, or form. You're going to get killed one shot, but you have to see what they're doing. You have to dodge. If you guys remember, I said I didn't want to die my first time playing it, and we die within like 45 seconds, if that. The second time we did it, I stayed alive pretty much the entire time because now I knew where to go, where to hide, get underneath the feet, stay underneath the boss. And it was a much better experience because I learned what not to do. So I disagree what he's saying about the boss fight. I mean, it all depends, each their own, basically on how many people you had in your group that was high enough to compete with the boss. All right, let me go back to what you guys are saying in chat here. This part. You're 5 levels less than last time. Yeah. That's a bad take on his part. Let's see here. The author seems like a hater. He does seem like a little bit of a hater. Okay, so no, 30. Strong is vampires. I didn't even bother because that was a challenge solo on my 25. But yeah, other 2 were easy without the gear. Exactly, Jared. Maybe it is ex-Blizzard employee. I don't know. The gameplay and the actions that makes D4 great is one of those players that won't make it past 30 and start crying at the legendary drops. Yeah, I'm gonna be, I think, on the outside of this, right? During the beta, I actually liked the drop rate. This last beta, right? I actually liked the drop rate of the gear that we were getting. I didn't think I should be getting legendaries. I thought it's like culture shock, right? If you played the last beta, closed beta, open beta, you were getting legendary drops. If you went to the vendor, you were getting 1 out of every 4 drops as a legendary, okay? There was times that I went to the vendor and I got legendary, 3 legendaries. I killed a regular guy and I got 3 legendaries out of a drop from a mini boss, right? You know what I mean? Like, they were just throwing legendaries at you. So now the people that played the open beta, closed beta, now they played this beta are like, oh, dude, we're not getting any legendaries. You're level 20. You shouldn't be getting legendaries. The game continues on past the beta. You know what I mean? Like 20 is not the max level, and you shouldn't be getting that many legendaries across the way. I thought it was a good balance. Now, I watched Force Gaming. He said he got like 12 legendaries. He played a lot longer, though, which would make sense. I played for 3.5, 4 hours, and I got 2, but I purchased them from a vendor. I got them from a random drop from the thing. You know what I mean? The gameplay and the action is what makes the... I already read that part. Sounds like this isn't their kind of game. True, Jason. I actually, look, I think... Do I think Diablo is a finished, complete game? No, I don't. Just like any game that comes out is not complete. But I do believe, because this is exactly why they're starting the season late, okay? They want you to come in, and they shined the game up real nice for the campaign, right? I think 95% of the population is going to enjoy themselves when they play this game. They're going to go through the campaign. They're going to go through the story. They're going to get one character, maybe halfway, maybe beat the story, but not get to like 50, maybe not complete your skill tree or whatever. And then they're going to go bye-bye. They're going to stop playing the game. They're going to put it down, and maybe they'll come back in season 1 or 2 or 3 down the road. But there's going to be a lot of balancing issues. My problem with Blizzard is what they did, they overcompensate. If you guys have watched my content from Destiny and Division and all this stuff, anytime a developer makes kind of changes in the game, they don't do gradual changes, right? They go from it's all the way to the left, and then they nerf it all the way to the right, and then they come back to the left. They don't do a slow cook, right? They don't gradually go, okay, let's see what's happening here. Let's just move it up just a little bit, see what's happening. It's always boom, 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 back and forth. So if it's broke because it's buffed, they'll nerf it to the ground, and then something else comes up and people complain. They need to find a good balance at launch. They need to find a good balance at launch and then tweak it minute throughout going to the next season. Not go from no balance from the campaign, and then all of a sudden season 1 comes and they shoot it the other direction, and then back and forth, back and forth. It's not just Blizzard that does this. This is all companies that do this. They need to gradually make the changes and not shoot it left and right. You know what I mean? Also, this is a beta, Mr. PC Gamer. Right. There's a lot of things that, and I think the server slam was more for them, not for us, right? This is why they only went to 20. They wanted to see how many people were still interested. They wanted to see what the servers could maintain. They did a better job. Yes, there was probably less people playing, but I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any issues. I had no rubber banding, no drops, no nothing. I know some of you said you did, but I think they did a better job overall. So we'll see what happens when launch comes, especially since they know how many people pre-ordered. They know how many people are going to play day 1 on June 2nd or June 1st, whatever it is. They know how many people. So they're like, let's get the servers nice and good for those people when they come in so we don't have issues, right? Let's see. Guy's an idiot. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Yeah, same. Legendaries shouldn't be dropping like Halloween candy. Yeah, I agree. There are legendaries for a reason. They're supposed to be rare drops. I think 4 fixed rares will probably be rarer than legendaries. This is how most players think. With all Blizzard games, they change so much over their lifespan, so it's hard to judge D4 at launch. Sure, but you can judge something at launch, though, Jason, right? You can say that, like, for instance, Diablo 3 or Diablo 2 were terrible when they first came out, and then they fixed it along the way, and then they were pretty good games. So you can judge something for what you see, right? I'm not going to judge something what I think it's going to be in the future. I got to judge it for what my eyes see now. Sounds like every Destiny player I need to 8 exotics per run, right? 30, half the OG Diablo players plays D4 for a while, and then they get bored with D4. I bet those players will play Diablo 3 or 2. No. I think what's going to happen if you're talking about the hardcore players, Jesse, the hardcore players are going to play the crap out of D4. They're going to, every nook and cranny, they're going to try to figure out everything because that's what they like to do. Come on, Winzo. I'm so pumped for this game. Did you see the last live stream? They were basically hinting and taking a trip to New Zealand, which basically says they're okay if you do it with their game. Oh, for sure, sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have a good time with this game. Even if I play this game and don't put it down for like 2 weeks and then don't come back for like season 1 or season 2 or whatever, I'm okay with that. I think the amount of hours I'm gonna put in for the amount of money I'm putting in towards the game, it's gonna be worth it for me. You know what I mean? The barbarian one with the death blow augment. Oh my god. Are you gonna be a barbarian? I think I'm gonna go barbarian for my first. It was between druid and barbarian. I think I'm gonna go barbarian on my first playthrough. I can't wait to be playing even one day earlier now. Right, because you go to New Zealand. We're all going to New Zealand. Servers were definitely better this time around. They're previously betas. Still a lot of lag and rubber banding this main town. I didn't get any myself, Ford. What system were you playing on? Were you playing on PlayStation 5? Were you playing on Xbox? Yeah, I agree, Jason. I agree. I don't think. Look, here's the thing. They can buff anybody they want, and because the NPCs are scaled with you the entire time, like there's a balance between buffing and nerfing, and they want you to how long you want to play the game for, right? They want you to grind so you spend money in the cosmetic stores or whatnot. They don't want you to level up too fast, right? So it's a time. If they want you to get to 100 in 120 hours, that's what it's going to be. But if they buff you and all of a sudden you're going through stuff much faster, then it takes 80 hours or 100 hours. They don't want that, right? So there's a balance on their end compared to what we want. We want better gear, we want better stuff, but they want us time implemented inside the game. So hopefully they do give us buffs. Never nerf. You should never nerf, especially in a predominantly PvE game, right? Yes, there's a PvP section, but you should never nerf in a PvE game. The only reason they nerf in a PvE game is because they're trying to keep you engaged for longer periods of time, so you spend money in the microtransaction store, if that's cosmetics or earning stuff or anything like that. You're playing on PC. Okay. I got a really great idea, and let's just play Ultimate Alliance 4 instead. I would love if they had Ultimate Alliance on all systems, not on the Switch. Damn it, do I need to buy an Xbox to play a D4 early? No, Water, stop it. You can wait like 8 hours or whatever it is. I didn't have any problems either. It was smooth. I'm doing Barbarian as well. What system are you on, Winzo? Were you on PC, Xbox, PlayStation? Too bad the deal got delayed. We could have got it on Game Pass. Nah, I don't think it would have ever been on Game Pass this early. It didn't get delayed, by the way, Jared. It's not delayed. It wouldn't have went through yet anyway. It would have been, if anything, it would be going around right now. Like if it went through, it would have been going right now. But down the road, I mean, if it's on Game Pass, it's on Game Pass. If it's not, I mean, if you like a game, you're going to pay for it. You know what I mean? If they don't, if you'll get the DLCs and stuff for free if they come out with DLCs if it's on Game Pass. Who knows? No, actually, that'd be backwards because usually they give you the game for free and then you pay for the DLCs. So if you want to wait for Game Pass, then don't buy the game and see if it comes to Game Pass in like six to 8 months. I think it'll be on Game Pass by Christmas time next year. So 2024 holiday time, I think that's when they'll make an announcement or something. I'm going rogue, Horseman says. I was hardcore sorcerer, but now I switched. Even Forge Gaming said in the video he got those issues in the main town. And he was playing on PC as well, right? Ford? Yeah, I think or Forge Gaming or Force Gaming. I think Force is playing on PC. I found out how to go to New Zealand on PlayStation 5. Just create a new PlayStation account. Look like we're taking a trip soon. Some AAA titles from Activision or Blizzard got to be on Game Pass. Oh, yeah, I think they will all be on Game Pass at some point. And look, I don't like day and date. I want to see the games make their money first and then go on Game Pass. I like the PlayStation model more than the Game Pass model for first-party titles. Yeah, I was on Xbox and I didn't have any issues in the town. There was one little hiccup. You know when you leave the main town and go out the gate, like over the bridge? There was a little hiccup there for one moment, but very, very short, minute, and I never had it again every time I left. And that was the first night at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. All right, next thing I want to talk about. Take this with a grain of salt as well. I hit the invisible wall every time on that area. Just had to exit, go back, and it was fine. Yeah, during the last open beta, closed beta, Travis, I had issues there. This time, I only had that one hiccup, and it wasn't even to hit the wall. It was like a, whoop, and then I went through. Yeah, I'll give a free one to you, PlayStation fanboys. Right? We probably didn't have a problem in Xbox Series X because there was less people playing on the X. All right, next story. So the European Commission approves Microsoft's Activision Blizzard purchase for Xbox. This is about 24 hours ago. What you need to know, Microsoft is currently working on acquire Activision Blizzard for almost $69 billion, just a small little chunk change. The merger is undergoing regulatory reviews around the world with a handful of approvals on a couple of major roadblocks so far, and the European Commission has approved the purchase following the in-depth examination of the deal. Microsoft's biggest purchase ever just got a shot to regulatory adrenaline. The European Commission shared its news on Monday that it is approving Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard. Regulatory Authority of Europe explained the decision that is accepting the Microsoft offered remedies for xCloud gaming. Microsoft offered a free license for users of the EEA, which composed of the EU and a handful of other countries, to stream any current or future Activision Blizzard titles as long as the user has a license for the game. So a lot of people are misconstruing this. They're saying, oh, they're giving out free games. No, if you purchase the game, they'll give you a free license to then play it on the cloud, right? So if you buy a hard copy and then you can play it on the thing, that's what they're doing. So, quote, these commitments fully address the competition concerns identified by the Commission and represent a significant improvement for cloud gaming streaming compared to the current situation. Now, the European Commission explained that they will empower millions of EEA consumers to stream Activision games using any cloud gaming service operating in the EEA, provided by the purchase in an online store, or include an active multi-game subscription from EEA. Now, Microsoft fight for $69 billion merge has seen saga over the last year and a half, and regulators around the world slowly deciding whether or not they'll allow the purchase. Now, the European Commission has required Microsoft to license popular Activision Blizzard games automatically to competing cloud gaming services, said Brad Smith, vice chair and president of Microsoft. This will apply global and will also empower millions of consumers worldwide to play these games on any device they choose. Now, again, what this means is if I purchase Call of Duty on the Xbox, and then I want to play it on the NVIDIA, right, the GeForce Now, or I want to play it on Boosteroids, as long as I purchase their service, monthly subscription to play on GeForce Now, I will be able to play my Call of Duty over there for no additional charge, right? I get a free cloud gaming, right? So I purchase the game, digital or physical, from Xbox or wherever, and then I get a free version to stream on the streaming services across the way, right? So they can compete. So prior to this decision, regulators in Japan, Chile, and Brazil, Serbia and Saudi Arabia have approved the purchase, with South Africa authorities also recommending approval so far. On the other side, the FTC in the U.S. and the CMA in the U.K. have moved to block the deal, spurred to a big anti-big tech statement that concerns the Uber cloud gaming market, respectively. Microsoft is currently filing the appeal in the UK and plans to fight the purchase against the FTC in court. Now, in response to the European Commission decision, the CMA shared on Twitter that, quote, Microsoft proposal accepted by the European Commission today would allow Microsoft to set terms and conditions for the market for the next 10 years, adding that this is one of the reasons that the CMA's independent panel group rejected Microsoft's proposal and prevented this deal. Now, Windows Central's take on this, it says this is a huge move that will no doubt aid in battle Microsoft with some much needed good news. Microsoft is already fighting two of the largest regulators in the world, and if the European Commission had also blocked the deal, there's no doubt Microsoft would have walked away from the deal. Now that they still have a massive uphill battle, but things are looking better. Xbox, that's the bundle. No matter what happens in coming months, there's also a wide range of big games available for Microsoft's latest games console, with more titles at Bethesda Studios, Starfield, and Turn 10's Forza Motorsports. So, there you go. So, obviously, what some of the analysts out there said, that if this is before the CMA blocked it, they said if the CMA goes through, then it's going to go through. If the CMA doesn't and it gets blocked, they said that the European Union would actually say it's okay, and then the CMA would say okay afterwards, and they would move on with their life. Or the CMA would block it still, and then what would happen is that everybody that says okay would get the Activision games on Game Pass, and then the UK would not get it, right? So 38.4 million people that play games over in the UK would pay for Game Pass just like everybody else, but they would get less on Game Pass than the rest of the world, right? Michael Packner, one of the guys that said everyone was wrong, he's never been right. He literally said that the CMA, now that they blocked it, the EU would say okay. He said by May 22nd, May 15th it actually happened. So those people that said that he's always wrong, a clock's right twice a day. A broken clock's right twice a day. Can take that back now that he's actually right. Now, again, not to say that he's always right or he's always wrong. He just made a statement saying that this is what's going to happen. And right now, that is what's happening, right? Right now, what's happening is that the CMA said no, the FTC said no, the EU said yes, and now things are going to sway back the other way, perhaps, and then the deal is probably going to go through. I still think the deal is going to go through. I think this is just Pockham circumstance. They're just going to kind of, draw it out. Everyone's going to get their money. Activision Blizzard's going to get their $3 billion, plus they're going to get the $69 billion once it goes through at a later date. Everybody gets paid. Everyone's palms get greased. The deal goes through, and then we move on with this, and then we'll all be bored because there'll be nothing to talk about in the gaming world. Let's see what you guys are saying in chat. I hit invisible. I already got that. Excuse me for a second. I have to get my my bugle so I can play taps for Activision Blizzard. Then there's people like Travis over exaggerating. Travis, I have a question for you. Do you think Activision Blizzard, not to say that Microsoft buying them is in any better state, but do you think Activision Blizzard was in good state before they were getting purchased? Get ready for microtransactions out of the wazoo in D4 now that Xbox has it. There was more microtransactions in Activision Blizzard than any other game known to man. Between Call of Duty and Overwatch and Apex Legends. Horseman says, CMA, your deal is dead. EU means necromancer. What it means Activision Blizzard will close down in a year. Not possible. No way in hell. No way in hell. I'll give you them a shot of adrenaline. It won't help them. The next time on Dragon Ball Z. What's going on, Kuda Papa? This made me laugh. Looks like the CMA is in the bind now. You're right, and this is exactly what the analyst said. The analyst said that the EU would go through, and then the CMA would come back and be like, "Oh yeah, it was a safe face," and say okay. But even if they don't, even if they stick to their guns, Akuta Papa, the UK just doesn't get it. They'll just move on without them, right? Except that broken clock isn't right twice a day, as you've said it correctly on the 24-hour clock. That would still be correct twice a day, because it would be right when it hits the day and then when it ends the day. But okay. like simultaneously, it would be correct twice. Yeah, Overwatch was terrible. Tell Travis that. He thinks that because Xbox owns it now, Overwatch and Activision are going to have worse microtransactions. Winzo says, I see this as a good thing through because just like Phil said, developers not making same game all the time. I like to see it always stuck in COD. Developers make some old... Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think they're going to stop those companies from making Call of Duty. But other studios that are making Call of Duty might be able to make something else now. IPs. Okay, there it is. I was like, what's ING? Don't expect Diablo to get microtransactions. Watch WoW get lambasted with microtransactions. But isn't... pardon me if I don't... Because I don't know Akuta Papa. I haven't played WoW in a really long time. Isn't there a lot of microtransactions in WoW now? Just as much as like ESO, where... There's mounts that they sell and cosmetics and different things. Isn't it the same? Like aren't all MMOs pretty much the same now as far as cosmetics and microtransactions and whatnot? Boss says previously on Peter screws the pooch. Now Microsoft can ruin Diablo going forward. So does this acquisition mean that all of their games will now run at 30 frames per second? Now you have to pay just to launch the game. The rest of the world, country that we said F off in 1776. Horseman says will be interesting to see what happens going forward. The FTC going to sue no matter what. And anyone that thinks that they're going to approve it is mad. Yeah, they're not going to approve it, but they can move forward without them. Horseman. I don't know if they got their funding approved though. Also, their case is also like for antitrust now. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. At the end of the day, though, again, I'm not a lawyer. This is just my gut based on other businesses doing this in the past. They're doing the same thing as other businesses in the past. It's not the exact same, but when Disney bought Fox. No one batted an eye, right? Nobody batted an eye. And that was a huge market, right? That's a huge market, okay? And if you compare Disney with Fox compared to Microsoft and Activision, Fox is a much bigger pickup than what Activision Blizzard is in the gaming industry for Microsoft. And they didn't do anything for that. So based on that, now, obviously, I can't base it completely off that, but with that and what Facebook did, I feel that this is going to go through. And then after this, they'll make other procedures and other what's the word I'm looking for? They'll make other rules, other rulings in the future that won't let this happen again, right? In a way, WoW will some of the least microtransactions may be wrong. I haven't played in a couple of years, so I'm not sure how the store has been updated. Yeah, I'm not sure myself. But seriously, I don't say Xbox will ruin Activision Blizzard because it's evil, although it is, because Xbox will only encourage their already bad habits. But here's the thing, and I don't know how this sways, Travis. Phil Spencer's been pretty upfront that any company they've picked up, not part of Xbox Studios, but picked up, like Bethesda and anybody else that's under their own umbrella. Like ZeniMax still controls their stuff, even though they get the money now, right? Microsoft's getting that money from Bethesda and ZeniMax and whatnot. But they've said up front, Phil Spencer says, we let the developers were hands off, right? Now, obviously, you can blame Microsoft for the bad games or each their own, right? But like you said it earlier, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If Microsoft came in and was nickel and diming all of the Bethesda and watching hand over like a helicopter parent, you would have been like, oh, the game would have been better if Microsoft, didn't bother them. And then if they didn't bother them, you'd be like, oh, well, Microsoft should have got in there and helped them, and it's Microsoft's problem because, right? You see what I'm saying? So, like, what's the right way? Do you get involved and let them do what they, you know, or let them do their own thing. Lena's just cuckoo for the big tech. That Facebook lawsuit over the fitness app was absurd. On Nothing on Phil, Zodiac Killer Spencer has said, will sway me. Admit he's a Zodiac Killer. Just admit it. Again, you're so like, literally, you are, and I mean this in the nicest way, Travis, because I'm not trying, but you are a typical internet troll. You literally type whatever comes to your head without actually thinking about anything. Like, you just, there's no brain power going into what you're saying. You're just spewing stuff, right? You're just spewing stuff just to get kind of reactions. This is why I skip over half the stuff you say. So you don't get involved, and they pay schmucks supposed to do a job, or to do a job. Square couldn't know the CD is a studio clowns, and they can't do a simple Marvel Avengers game. But that has nothing to do with Xbox, though, boss. Right? That has nothing to do with Xbox. You're using them as an example. Square couldn't know that CD is a studio of clowns, right? But what I'm saying is, do you do hands-on or do you do hands-off? Because if they do hands-on, right? Like, for instance, let's take Destiny, for example. When Activision was with Bungie, any problems, Activision was the problem, not Bungie. And then when Bungie left Activision, Bungie still didn't get the problems. It was because Activision was holding them back, and they were still blaming Activision. Okay, even though Bungie was on their own, right? And now that other stuff is happening, they'll blame other people. They don't blame the people that are actually doing the work. It's always pass the buck. Never micromanage. But they're not micromanaging at all. That's the thing. He's saying they're hands off, meaning they're letting the developers be developers. They're letting the studio do their own thing, and they're just banking the bankroll, right? They're backing them with the bankroll. You see what I'm saying? Now, Xbox Studios, the ones that are owned directly underneath the Xbox Studio brand, those are the problems that they're doing the 18-month circulation with the developers and whatnot. Okay? The ones that are owned by Microsoft directly, that are under the Xbox Studio brand, are the ones with the contracts 18 months, and there's issues within that. But games like Redfall with Arcane and ZeniMax and Bethesda, if you listen to Phil Spencer, what he's saying, he says we should have got involved earlier. They didn't. Okay? The hands-off that they did, the big thing is, it's like a parent. I can let my son do what he wants, but at some point, I'm going to get involved with him to make sure he doesn't do something stupid. Right? And they didn't do that. It's the lack of oversight that is laughable. And I've said this before, Horseman. I think upper management, clear across the board, is to blame for Redfall. Clear across the board. Because how would Microsoft know if Redfall needs help if the upper management doesn't speak to them? And then if they do speak to them, and the upper management over here comes over and says, hey, how you guys are doing? And Redfall's like, hey, we're doing fine. Upper management, there's times that you have to trust in the people that you hire and pay big bucks for to do their job. And if they're not doing their job, right, you don't know, right? Like if Phil Spencer hired these two people, and these two people are supposed to talk to these guys over here, they're relaying it back to him. And he says, well, how's Redfall? And they're like, how's Redfall? Redfall's doing great. It's doing great. Phil Spencer's like, great, it's doing great. Let's go check it out, right? He trusts in other people, and someone dropped the ball. Somebody, multiple people dropped the ball. The devs, the upper management, the upper management, someone dropped the ball. Going back to what Travis is saying, to blame Xbox now that Diablo is going to suck or Overwatch is going to suck, Blizzard's Blizzard, right? Blizzard's Blizzard. You shouldn't have to stand over people being paid to do their job, making sure that they're doing the job. Right? That's exactly right, boss, right? So who's the blame, right? If Microsoft is hovering over them and going, no, you can't do it that way, right? Think about this as a person that works in sales or whatever, right? Would you want your boss to tell you how to do your job? Or would you rather have your boss say, you know what, I like the way you do it, just do your job. As long as the bottom dollar helps out the company, you should be okay, right? I used to hate when I worked in the convention center, right? We used to get paid by the day. Okay? And then they changed it to the hour. So what happens, right? If I get paid, let's say $500 a day to work the convention, and I get my job done in 5 hours instead of working 10 hours, right? You, the client, if you see your job is done, there should be no problem, right? But the people that didn't know what we were doing were complaining that there's nobody walking around here. Even though everything is done, they wanted to make sure they were getting their money's worth. So they started complaining. So then they changed this from day rate to hourly. Okay? So now you take the $500, let's say I get paid $50 an hour. Well, now instead of working 5 hours, I'm working 10 hours. So I take my sweet, sweet time because I want to make sure I'm making my $500 a day, right? So then they complain that, well, it's working too slow. They haven't set this up yet. Which one do you want? Do you want me to do the job and get it done? Or do you want me to stretch it out and still get the job done, but in a longer period of time? At that point, you need to go check it yourself. Well, Travis, that's easy for someone to say when you're in charge of nobody. Phil Spencer's in charge of, what, 32 studios, 28 studios, thousands of people. There's only a certain amount of time in the day, right? There's only a couple of phone calls or plane flights that you can do per day. I'm not making excuses, but when you're ahead of a company, it's kind of hard to go visit a lot of people because you're on the phone a lot. You're doing business deals. You're doing a lot of different things at the top of the food chain. Exactly. Blizzard's been shit for years. Right, but you're saying they're going to get shit because of Microsoft. They're already shit, hence why they want to get bought. If someone's micromanaging and standing over your shoulder saying, do this, do that, it's on them. Sure. They shouldn't have to stand over, though. If they trust you, you can do the job and screw the pooch. That's on you. Right, taking responsibility and not throwing people underneath the bus or passing the buck off, you know? Microsoft is mostly hands-off on the non-Microsoft Studios direct games, and they blame the devs. I blame Arcane for Redfall, not Microsoft. I don't throw blame unless I know it's on. Well, I do blame them for the specific Redfall, right? I blame Arcane and Bethesda and ZeniMax to putting that game and not calling out Microsoft and saying, hey, we need help over here, or we're having problems over here, or we're drowning type of thing, right? Like, Microsoft is a parent on the side of the pool looking over going, oh yeah, the kid's fine in the pool, right? They look away for a second, and now the kid's drowning in the pool, and no one's coming to save him, okay? No one's looking. ZeniMax, Bethesda, no one's looking at Arcane going, hey, are you guys okay over there? Okay? And then Microsoft gets blamed, even though Microsoft's not responsible for that kid, right? Well, how come you weren't watching, right? There was massive problems across the board. Upper management in Arcane, upper management in Bethesda, upper management, all the management teams that were supposed to see what was going on. No one was paying attention to Arcane. Arcane's drowning in the water, and no one's coming to save him. That's the problem. Said it best. Redfall's a game that makes you wonder where the effort went. Right. I'm in charge of myself and can barely do that. So yeah, I see your point. I was being dramatic. It's called over-exaggerating. I don't think any better or worse than under Xbox. But you said that. You see what I'm saying, Travis? This is where you're like the troll. You're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to say anything and see what people say. I don't think I've gotten any Activision products after the disgrace that was COD Vanguard. You got to wonder, Jason says, you got to wonder if even really cared about Redfall since it was just going day one to Game Pass. I think there's, again, we can all do our armchair speculations, Jason. I think that Arcane was doing a game 2 years ago. They were already 3 years in development. I think Microsoft looked at it and said, that's not going to work, but let's just throw it on Game Pass because that's their structure, Microsoft's Game Pass, right? Before they got picked up, Arcane had a deal with PlayStation. It was going to be on Xbox, going to be on PlayStation. There might have been an exclusive for PlayStation, and there was microtransactions. These are facts that we know. We know that there was a version for PlayStation, and we know that the game had microtransactions in the game, right? Coming from Bethesda, it seems like it was going to be more of like a Fallout 76 co-op, microtransactions, constantly update the game. And then when they got bought out, Microsoft, they're like, oh, we're just going to put it on Game Pass. So kind of like Bethesda was just like, okay, never mind with the microtransactions and whatnot type of thing, right? Spencer Kutapapa says Spencer should have been having a deal with the studios. He should be out there making deals, phone calls, third-party companies, bonuses, and etc. Only involved in major issues, right? And that goes back to if there was a major issue at Arcane, Bethesda, ZeniMax, Phil Spencer should have been taught or told by his upper management. And that's a breakdown across the upper management. And that's why I say upper management's the problem. What I'm hearing is they need them to have gaming floating wings. Boss says this goes back to my point. Devs won't give two shits to make Game Pass game. Well, I don't think it's as simple as that, though, right, boss? If you're doing a job as a developer, are you going to do your best job? You would hope. Now, obviously, there's a lot of situations, right? You're working for a company you don't really like working for, but you're working. You're like, it is a thing. But you still want your best. Like I work on films. When I used to work in films, I knew it was a straight to home video, or I knew it was a straight to TV film or a music video. I didn't give less of my ability of what I did. I still wanted to put the best product out. So like when I'm the camera guy, I'm gonna do the best job I can, regardless if I'm gonna, right? I'm doing what I'm getting paid for. So you would hope the people that are working on your video game are not gonna half-ass something because they don't really care about the game. You would want the best people. And if that's the case, it's still breaking down to upper management that didn't hire the correct people. I stopped that for Ghosts. But let's say self-slipped on the Infinity War Call of Duty 4 Remastered. Even bought one since... haven't bought one since. Passion and motivation go a long way. Sure, 100%. Is there no motivation or passion you could give two shits to put your best in stuff? Absolutely correct. But what I'm saying is you would hope that the people that are in the gaming industry, are they just there to collect the check, or are they there to do the job and collect the check? I don't blame Spencer or Microsoft. Now, a bit more information would be nice because it feels like Redfall devs and upper management said it was fine. Did Spencer know it sucked? But the problem is as a peon, right? As an outsider looking into the situation of what Redfall is, we just know that Redfall sucks. We don't care why it sucks, right? And we're never going to find out. And you know what? As a what happens in the military and what the civilians know are two different things, right? You see what I'm saying? Like what happens behind the scenes, that's for them to know. As a customer, I don't give a shit, personally, why it sucked or didn't suck. All I know is it sucked, right? And that's the first impressions you're going to see. If your job is to make games, my job is to play games, not my job as like a YouTuber, just as a consumer, is to give you money and play your game and enjoy it. And if look at that game and go, this is not a complete game, that's a failure on their end. Not my end as a consumer that doesn't want to play their game. No, devs are going to go in there, blood, sweat, and tearing for Game Pass game. See, I don't totally agree with that. I agree up to the point that they know they're making a game for Game Pass if they're a first-party title. But I can't imagine that they would go, oh, it's on Game Pass. All right, guys, just do bare minimum. And I don't know about that. I don't want to believe that, I should say. You're probably right, but I don't want to believe that. If you guys like the content and the conversation we're having, make sure you hit that like button. It helps us out here. We do this and gameplay sometimes during the day. We're here live at 10 o'clock in the morning until about noon Eastern. The hours might change a little bit for the summertime because my son's off from school and I got to keep him entertained. So we might move it up a little bit and end it a little bit. So it might be like 9:30 to like 11:30 and not 10 to 12. I'll let you guys know about that. We're not going anywhere yet. I'm just letting you guys know. And we also live at 8 p.m. Eastern on the evenings, Monday through Thursday. They got into it because it was a growing business, right? And then there's also a lot of people that started companies up because it was a growing business and they don't really care about video games. They just wanted to put a game out there. This is not Game Pass. This is just the industry in general, right? Let's just make a game, get it out there, and make money off people. Not because they love gaming. I don't know. I went to a tech school. I went to people that I know a lot of people in the video game industry, boss, and I don't think they went in there because they wanted to make a lot of money. They wanted to be in there because they were making cool games. And the money comes along with it. Just like I didn't join the film industry to make a shit ton of money. I wanted to be part of the process of making films and having people enjoy them. I mean, I could have went into any thousands of different businesses to make money. When they're told to make a Game Pass game, they'll half-ass it. Not care. Who cares? Deadline goes subservice anyway. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I just don't want to believe it as a human being on the planet. I never put my best foot forward when I work on something. 20 years ago, you made it because you loved games. Now it's a paycheck. Like, I wonder how many developers are gamers. I bet it's not many more. I don't want to believe that either. I don't believe people get into... I don't believe someone pushes their way through to be a doctor. Or be a surgeon, I should say. Not just a regular doctor. I don't believe people go through to become a surgeon because they want to make a lot of money. I think they want to help people out as a surgeon. Okay? Not just get in there and go, whatever. I'm going to make a shit ton of money. I really don't care about the surgery. Right? Obviously, the money is a bonus on top of what you're doing, but you need to be really skilled at what you're doing as a surgeon, right? Anyone can become a developer, but you have to know what you're doing and be a good developer. I don't think people get into gaming because they want to make a shit ton of money. There's plenty of people that don't make a shit ton of money as developers. You know what I mean? Doesn't Hi-Fi Rush alone prove that is not true? Oh, what Boss is saying. I mean, I would think so. I mean, I would think people want to put their best foot forward. No dev would do that if they're a first-party title. Their paycheck is guaranteed. They can make a good game for Game Pass without worrying about the money. Well, that's my whole point, Akuda. Like, regardless, like when I worked on a music video or worked on a straight-to-video, I'm making my rate. Right, I'm making my paycheck regardless if it's going to go straight to home video or if it's going to the blockbuster film. I'm still doing the best of my ability because I'm getting paid for what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? That's why I'm saying I don't believe that. I don't believe that a developer's like, all right, guys, we're making a Game Pass game. They're like, all right, what are we getting for lunch today? Like, I think they're like, all right, cool. Well, let's make a really great game. Let's make a really great game. A gamer knows Zelda isn't Link. I'm telling you today, devs think Link is Zelda. Well, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, boss. Yesterday, my son was talking about the new Zelda game. Right? We haven't gotten it. He says, "Dad, did you see the new Zelda game?" I said, I did. And I said, he asked a question, and he thought, but he's 8. Okay. He thought Link was Zelda. And I said, no, Zelda is the princess. He's like, oh. He's like, I thought the guy you were using is named Zelda. I said, no. I said, that's Link. He's like, oh. And it like a light bulb went off in his head because he played Breath of the Wild a little bit. But when he was playing it, he didn't read that much. So he was just playing it for the actual thing. It was funny. I go, no. And then I said, lots of people think that Zelda is the guy you're using. I said, but Zelda is actually the princess. Yeah. So it's funny. It's funny you brought that up. In the next game, the names will swap to be inclusive. Yeah, it was just funny. And I know this is the next thing out of my mouth is not gonna be very popular, but my son goes, Dad, he goes, are you gonna get the new Zelda game? I go, no. He goes, why? I go, I didn't really like the first one. I said, it was kind of boring. He goes, I know. He goes, it was boring. I go, I know it's an unpopular opinion. I go, a lot of people like it. I said, but I thought it was boring. And people love it. And each their own. I just don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for Tears of the Kingdom. And that might be the greatest game. I don't know if it's because I'm older and I just don't like that type of game anymore, like on Nintendo. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Someone who said Breath of the Wild is boring as hell, Tears of the Kingdom is a lot better than boring. I mean, I was bored. Like, it was just so much nothing going on. Nothing going on. And I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying that I did not engage with it. I was bored. I was bored. I'm only 5 hours into Tears of the Kingdom. It's great. I didn't play Breath of the Wild, but watch a daughter play it. Plus, it's to make the game bad for Game Pass. It's a good way to not be invited back to have your studio closed and funding. Right, Akuta Papa. I just can't imagine that people will be like, oh, Game Pass, all right, make it shitty. I'm not saying rush out and buy it. I'm just saying that it's better than yes. I was bored to death with Breath of the Wild. This is a lot better. World feels alive now. All right, well, that's good to know. I mean, I love Zelda. I love the Zelda games. The vibe in Tears seems a lot more sense of urgency. Okay, so like if I walk somewhere in that game, Sportsman, right? If I walk like north, I'm gonna kill, find, or do something, right? Because in Breath of the Wild, it's like go this direction, collect 2 apples from a tree. Excuse me, collect 2 apples from a tree, and then nothing, right? And then nothing, and then go this direction, and there's nothing. I like the puzzles. I like figuring out stuff like that, but just the open world style is just like there's nothing going on here. They have to invite you back to make another Game Pass game. They purchased you. There are people who ask you to do things now in Sun Dungeons. All right, maybe I'll watch someone play, because I didn't have any interest in it. Breath of the Wild completely... I went back yesterday while I was in Carline waiting for my son. I was like, you know what? Let me give Breath of the Wild another shot. And I went in and started playing it up again. And I'm about halfway through the game. And I started playing and running around the thing, and I went, holy Christ. I was like, this is still boring. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I want to like the game so bad, and it's just not for me. And I know 99.9% of the people will be like, you're crazy. Breath of the Wild is game of the year. I'll be like, that's great. For me, boring. And I don't know if it's when I got it, because let me remind you guys that I was a stay-at-home. I'm still a stay-at-home dad, but my son was a lot younger. I needed a lot more attention. I was a lot more tired doing stuff, right? So when I had moments of, moments to myself where I could play something, I would pop on the Switch and play it, and it was so calm and soothing, I would fall asleep while I'm playing it. So I know it's a definite me thing with Breath of the Wild and not Breath of the Wild itself. I could see that, Travis. I could see that. You really think they're going to close down a studio they just paid millions on? Oh no! Well, Travis said that the other day about Blizzard's going to be done. I said, "There's no way they're going to spend $69 billion and then close Close Activision down. I know that's not what you're replying to. It just reminded me of. Wait, you take care of your kid? Yeah. Yep, I sure do. All right, what do we got? Do we got anything else to talk about? Let's see what you guys are posting in the news stories here. Boss says, I just don't see the idea plan working where they buy all the studios and they're just putting out nothing but PlayStation hits to fill the Game Pass full of masterpieces. Yeah, but from that perspective, right, boss? I forget. Did you play God of War? I can't remember if you played God of War or not. Like, did you buy God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, or Horizon Forbidden Dawn? Okay, so my next statement is, you're a huge PlayStation fan, right? Huge PlayStation fan. You bleed PlayStation, right? Like PlayStation's, you cut yourself. PlayStations are shooting out of your veins. I did buy all of those. Okay, but for God of War, fantastic game, nominated for Game of the Year for Ragnarok, and I think the last one won Game of the Year, did it not? But you didn't buy it, right? Well, why didn't you buy it? Right? There's probably many reasons why you didn't buy it. You're not interested in it or whatnot. So my point is that if you're not interested in games that are coming onto Game Pass, you're a PlayStation person, first off. So why do you care what first-party titles come to Xbox? Right? And then the people that are on Xbox, if they like those games, regardless of what you like and what they like, right? You're up here. You like games up here, but yet you don't purchase those games. Like God of War is next tier, but you don't like that game. And then the other people are doing mid-tier type of games, but they love those games. What's the problem? You see what I'm saying? I don't honestly. I just think it's a shame. If they love games, great. But that's just it, though. Isn't that the whole mentality of what Xbox is trying to do? They're just bringing. I don't know. I have to listen to his statement again. To bring more games to more people across more devices is what they've said, right? If it's mid-tier, great games, shitty games, just more games for more people across more devices. That's what Xbox has said, correct? I could be wrong. If people load up on Redfall and think that it's God's gift to gaming, great. Tons of videos saying different. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with you or me, right? If those people like those games, right? I mean, there's a bunch of places that are open that have shitty food. But there's people that go there and those places are open, right? Right? There's mid-tier pizza places that are huge franchises and fast food places that are mid-tier food, but there's tons of people, and this is what Krebsy always says, Game Pass is that McDouble, is that mid-tier stuff, and people love it. You see what I'm saying? You could eat at a 5-star restaurant or diamond restaurant or go to a hotel and love that stuff, right? But there's still Marriott's and there's still Holiday Inns and there's still motels. Those fucking places are popular. Why? Because there's a clientele for those things. It's almost like I'm fighting a battle to free those slave minds, and I think they deserve peasant gaming experiences. But that's your opinion of that system. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying I agree or disagree with you. I'm just saying that if you're not partaking in that ecosystem, then what's the problem? You see what I'm saying? You're loving it, right? You're loving PlayStation and the games that are there. You don't need to. You're not one of the clienteles for that. So what's the problem? Travis says a problem is eventually you have to do something other than McDoubles. You can't eat every day and not get sick of it. Sure, but not every game is for everybody, right? This is why, and if we're using a fucking food analogy or fast food place, this is why there's not just one or two numbers on the fucking order menu. This is why there's like 15 different numbers, because not every food is for everybody. People want chicken, people want hamburgers, people want fries, people want whatever it is. Papa says, I dislike Final Fantasy minus the MMO. I can't stand turn-based combat. To be Zero and say Sony is so bad because they have those games. Right. They have their clientele for that. You could say that, Papa, but it's clearly evident for those that are some of the best games in the world. Yeah, but they're the best games in the world for the people that play it. Like, for instance, Hogwarts Legacy sold 15 million copies out of a potential 50 million copies of the next-gen systems. So that means 35 million people didn't like it. The majority of the player base didn't like Hogwarts Legacy, but yet Hogwarts Legacy made over $1 billion. My point is, majority of people don't like certain things, and yet those things are still successful. Go on, Game of Fire. Well, I mean, sales-wise, turn-based did well as Redfall failed, and sales of the critical player. Right, but what I'm saying, right? What's going on, Luke? Right, what I'm saying is not every game, right? Not every movie, not every TV show, not everything has to make the masses more popular. They got to hit their number of what they cost, right? JM Ford says GTA 5 is hugely popular, makes a ton of money year after year release, and never played because I don't like that type of game anymore. Must be a shitty game though, right, Ford? Because you don't like it, right? I know you're not saying that. What I'm saying is, right? So if you don't like it, it must be a shitty game, even though 151 million people, bought the game, right? Majority of people don't buy games, right? Because not every game is meant for everybody, but they're still successful. Success doesn't mean they are good. Correct, but success also does mean, Akuta Papa, if it succeeds for them. Let's say they wanted to sell 250,000 copies, and yet they sold 2 million copies. That's a success. But to us, it's like, oh, they only sold 2 million copies, right? Corey says Nintendo is a different niche, and PlayStation. It all depends on what you want to play. Exactly, right? Here's the thing, right? PlayStation says best games in the world, best system in the world. They sell the most stuff in the world. Meanwhile, Nintendo going to sell 30 million copies of the game I don't want. Kings of the Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not interested in it. It's going to sell 30 million copies. It's going to be very successful. Right? They've sold, 125 million units of the Switch? So 110 million people are not going to buy it. Or 105 million people are not going to buy it. I hate puzzle games. But I know Phoenix, you hate puzzle games. Aren't you playing Jedi Fallen Order? Or Survivor? Haven't you played Tomb Raider? Haven't you played Uncharted? Didn't you play all those games? Those are puzzle games. Those are puzzle games disguised as an action-adventure. You're playing Zelda, for God's sakes. There's puzzles in that game. Make it sound like Final Fantasy 1 and 2 were the great, and now they've been bad, and now coming with 16, that was gaming's world popularity. Me? I'm just saying that more people are not playing the most popular game than they are. That's all I'm saying. People love it. It's not for me, and I recognize that, so I don't play it. And that's exactly how a consumer should be, though, right? If a game fails, it doesn't keep selling out of this world. That's what success is, my friend. But success changes for everybody. If a game came out and they wanted to sell 1 million copies, and it only sold 1.1 million copies, that's a success. It didn't sell 2 million, 5 million. Now, did it not make what they needed to make their money back? Then that's a fail, right? Then that's a fail. Or he says, sure, PlayStation has a great online digital platform, but I can't play with my red shells on it, right? I'm talking about when it's nothing but puzzles. Oh, so you're talking like a Portal game, something like that, Travis. There's also combat and fishing. God, I miss fishing. There's a lot of games with fishing in it, Travis. A lot of games with fishing. For that example, boss, that's the outlier. Not the norm. Right? Redfall is the outlier, not the norm. Corey says the best GTA game was Vice City due to the game being in the 80s. Oh, 100% agree with you. The soundtrack, no game, in my opinion. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy has a good soundtrack, but Vice City has the best soundtrack of any video game. I love it. But then again, I'm biased because I'm an 80s kid. Did Avengers make its money back? I think it did, but they won't tell us, Water. So what they said was it didn't meet expectations is what they said, right? There's nothing that said that they lost money. Crystal or Square Enix said it didn't meet expectations. So what does that mean? Like, were they expecting to make 10 million, but it only made 5 million? And it's still 2 million over actual making profit? You see what I'm saying? So it probably didn't, obviously, Marvel's IP, they would want to make a lot of money, but it came lower than that. So it was lower than expected. So who knows? I think they made their money back. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left it up for 2.5 years the way they did. Remember, 20% makes 80%. 20% of the population bought 80% of microtransactions. Plus, sometimes it's fun. Play horrible games. Look at me. I'm playing legendary, god-awful games. I play awful games all the time on stream, right? I play good games. I play awful games. Some of the awful games I like, and some of the great games I don't like. Right? But that's just taste sometimes. Like yesterday, Caliber, I thought was a pretty good game. Free-to-play game. You know, third-person shooter game. I had fun with it. Would I pay money for that? Probably not. I wouldn't pay $40, $30 for that. But because it was free to play, I enjoyed it. Why do you play bad games? You like them or what? Well, certain games, like for instance, I like games, try different games, right? I don't know if it's bad until I play it. But I'm also not going out and buying a $70 game and then being bad. Like, we played Redfall. It was a bad game, but we played it because it was on Game Pass, right? We played Fallout 76 back in the day because someone paid for it for me and wanted me to play it, right? So I play bad games. Doesn't mean I pay for bad games all the time. But I'm an outlier, boss, right? I'm a YouTuber that plays games, and regardless if it's good or bad, we can have some good conversations regardless, right? So for me, playing a bad game is not just like it's a bad game. Me playing a bad game brings up conversation of why this game is bad and have a good conversation about it. And I understand that. And that's why I say I'm an outlier. I don't have people buying me games. Exactly. Right? So I can't use myself as why are you playing bad games? I get free games. I get codes. I get people that buy me games. Right? And we play a bunch of different games. Sometimes we find a gem. Other times we don't. Right? Bye. Love you too. Right? So that wasn't for you, chat. I don't love you. The game Tunic, right? I'm a Zelda fan. Love old school Zelda. Okay. I didn't know if Tunic was going to be good or bad. We played the preview program of Tunic. I was like, this game's definitely in my. It could have been shit, but it wasn't. Right? I bought that game. Absolutely loved it. Right? There's some games that you look at and go, yeah, you know what? That could be a good game. Yeah, I don't love you guys. And don't lie because you don't love me either. That was it. Until I slept on Days Gone for so long, but I loved it when I finally played it. Yeah, and there's certain games. No Man's Sky was, let's be honest, it was trash when it came out. You might have liked it, people might have liked it, but what No Man's Sky is now compared to when it came out, right? It was a bad game. People spent $60 back in the day. Some people spent $100 on that game, and they had to wait, right? How many games? How many games did you buy, boss, back in the day? What system did you play on first? Was it Nintendo, NES, 64? Was it Genesis? What did you play? Right? Nobody back in the days of the 80s and 90s can say they'd never bought a bad game. Nobody. There was so many bad games back in the day that you didn't know because there was no internet to watch someone play it and say, "Hey, yeah, this is a bad game." Exactly, Travis. I appreciate it, though. I'll be curious to see what you think of Immortals of Avium article. Now I'll read it tonight. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. I remember the PlayStation 2 era. I had like 5 games. That's all I played. Not the case anymore. Sure, but there's still people, and again, the video game industry, boss, is 3 billion people play video games. That's across mobile, consoles, PC, whatever. 3 billion. I think it's like 3.9 billion people play video games, right? Go look at a YouTube video, right? Let's go look. What's one of the most popular? What's one of the most popular video game videos? Right? What would it have? It doesn't really fucking matter, right? It doesn't matter because it's going to be a fraction of what the total population of who's playing video games. Corey says every bad game was a good game back in the day. That's right, because you didn't know it was a bad game until it was too late. And even then, you didn't want to admit it was a bad because you paid your hard-earned money for it. I'm so confident in No Man's Sky at release that I had both PC and PlayStation. I'll be honest with you. I also Hakuna Papa, but it was in a rough state when it came out. Fort says Atari 2600. Anyone ever play ET? What's going on, home theater? And look at where that game is. Back in the day, Teenage Ninja Turtles game came out. Sure, I buy it. No interest to know if it was bad or not. But that's my point, though. there's majority of the population that plays video games that doesn't watch YouTube videos, that doesn't read articles. They happen to walk into a gaming store, or they surf the web, and they look at it and they go, that looks cool. I'm gonna buy that. Well, I didn't buy it. My mom did. Even worse, boss, right? Because she didn't do any kind of research. You're just like, I want this game. She's like, what do you want for your birthday or Christmas? You're like, I want this game. She's like, okay. She walks in the store. Do you guys have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? Is it Ninja? You're looking for Ninja, ma'am? Yes. Yeah. Looking at the Post-it note. Yes. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Yeah. This is it. All right. I'll get it for the whatever console. What console does he have? It's white, like an off-white with like a purple button on it, right? Like that's how our parents describe things. Like I don't know. Hold on. Can I use your phone? I got to call my house real fast because they didn't have a cell phone back then. I've heard horror stories about E.T. It's bad. It's so bad, Akuta Papa, that there's a landfill filled with ETs, like ET games. Yeah, they did, Jared. They put it in a landfill. Yeah. To make a point, did you play Knights of the Old Republic 2 back in the day? Yes. Yes, I did. Yeah, Corey, they used to buy games based on the cover. It was like if it had really cool art, and the artwork back then was really big because it looked nothing like the goddamn game that you paid, right? The art cover was like an album cover, and then you got the graphics at home, and you're like, what the hell is that? Speaking of Teenage Mutant Turtles, they're making the last Ronin into a game similar to the action of God of War. That'll be interesting, though. I'm excited for it, Walter, but at the same time, I kind of want to use all the turtles. I use videos, even yours are baseline for the game, if it interests me to play. And that's basically why I do what I do, Travis. I'm just trying to, like, for instance, we played Caliber yesterday. Some people might look at that game and go, that's trash. I don't want to play it. Other people might look at that and go, you know what? I appreciate him playing that. I'm gonna try it out, right? And that is all I want to do, right? I want to have conversation. I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm here to have good conversations and maybe, have fun. We all like video games. Right? Just all talk back and forth. It's easier for me. I'm chatting, you're typing, but that's what it's about. It's about us all hanging out in like a house, right? And I'm playing a game, and people are going, "This game looks like crap." Like, whatever, bro. I'm having fun. The type of thing. Oh yeah, the box art never looked like the game. The box art here, except if you played here, like Atari didn't lie, right? Like look at the artwork of let me see. Oh no, the box art was, yeah. So like you looked at look at the they weren't terrible. Here, they weren't terrible. Like if you look at Dig Dug, right? Like the artwork like really cool, and then you see the game, or Joust, right? Battle Zone.
What's your name, bud?
Right? There's things that you looked at. Like Q*bert didn't lie. It's an ugly creature on top of some blocks that you're doing. Look at Pitfall. Pitfall was fantastic. Here, let me go to I went to the wrong thing. Let me go to Pitfall box art. Right? Look, it tells you what the game actually looks like. There it is. Shitty graphics, and then when you play the game, it's shittier looking than what the cover looked like. Right? Right? And this was the original. The original literally showed you the game on the front cover. Then in the 80s, once Nintendo came out, they started making the box art like what it really looked like, or not what it looked like, right? Look at this, right? Look at Contra, man. Contra looked like you know that this is supposed to be Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold. Okay, that's what they were going for. This is Sylvester Stallone and Arnold fighting aliens. Do you know what I mean? Like, this game looks badass. I want to play that game. Then you get it, and it's like a side scroller with like little dots shooting. Look at it. Castlevania. You got that badass Castlevania artwork. You're like, God damn, it looks good. I want to kill Dracula. And then you play the game. Looks nothing like it. Nothing like it. I guarantee you, if you put this on the front cover, right? If you put Link like this on the front cover, that game wouldn't sell as well. Like, look at the original. Look at this. Look. Yeah. Look at this artwork. This is how there's no lying here on the original Nintendo, right? Like, you knew what you were getting. You knew exactly what you were getting on the Nintendo. Right? That's exactly what it looked like. Kung Fu looked like that. Excite Bike looked like that. Everything looked everything looked exactly like it was. No plans to play new Zelda? No, Jared. We were just having, I don't know, you were in the conversation for it earlier. We're talking about Breath of the Wild. I was bored out of my mind with Breath of the Wild. And I know it's not the game. I'm not saying the game is bad. I just had no interest. I have the game. I've never beaten it. I know what the game looks like in end game. I watched someone beat it, but I was just bored out of my mind. And because of that, I have no interest in that in Tears of the Kingdom. Even though people are telling me it's a much better game than Breath of the Wild, I have no interest in it. I've been in and out. Yeah, it's okay. I picked a game rental store, Toys R Us or whatever. She looked back and she said the final says either have to pick another game or she got it. Did you ever read the story of Donkey Kong arcade game? He was abused ape who snapped at his abusive trainer. No, I never read that. Come on, Kylo. Did you play Breath of the Wild? Did you play the first one? Yeah, I never knew that, Travis. Oh yeah, the Turtles game was hard. So was Battletoads and stuff like that. There was a lot of games back in those old systems, boss, that they actually never had an ending. Like, developers made a game so hard that it was impossible to beat because there was nothing past that stage. Did you know that blocks Mario smashes are people? What? What are you on right now? What are you on right now? Travis, you okay? Are you okay? Wink if you're okay. Are you okay? You need help. Are you having a stroke? I was having a stroke yesterday. No joke. I had my whole like rib cage here, and I realized it wasn't. It was like a gas pocket. Oh my god, I was in so much pain. There's like a pain shooting through here, into my arm, and I was like, ah, it's not my left, and I'm good. In the instruction manual, it says Bowser turned the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom were turned into blocks. Mario smashes. Okay. I mean, they would just be toads, wouldn't they? Who cares about them? When people tell them games are so violent now, they're always violent. I mean, I don't know if you could far stretch that being violent. There's a difference between violence. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there's a difference between violence of smashing a story of people turning to blocks and smashing people and playing Call of Duty and shooting human beings. Do you know what I mean? There's a huge difference. When we say, okay, and we'll get into a little bit more of a conversation. That game that's Rewind, is that what it's called, or Replay, the one that looks super realistic, that where you're like a police officer and you're going into that abandoned building. Okay, like if someone wants to make, because you know what's going to happen down the road, a politician will be like, games are violent, and they show towards like Grand Theft Auto. Now, Grand Theft Auto, obviously, it's a video game, and you can see unfiltered, or it's something. You know what I'm talking about, though. You can see Grand Theft Auto when people run over people, and it still looks like a video game. It still looks fake. It still looks not real. But now, if you're getting into that game that looks super real, and Grand Theft Auto, let's say, is like that, and you're running into people, and that's where it starts to cross the line. Because then a politician could be like, people are playing video games and they're killing people, and then people could get desensitized by that, right? Where as long as it looks still cartoony and still there's that dissidence from it, right? That's what the problem's going to be. Unrecorded. That's it. Oh yeah, the top-down version of the boss of Grand Theft Auto. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if you ever played it. So I think when they say it's violent, sure, it's violent, but I mean, kittens biting each other is violent, but it's a necessity so the kittens know what hurts and what doesn't hurt. You see what I'm saying? Like siblings punch each other and they wrestle to understand what's right or wrong and how far to go and not to go. Oh yeah, when PlayStation 2, when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out was evolutionary, right? Evolutionary for the Grand Theft Auto series and video games. Actually, you know what? GTA 3 released in what year? 2001? I think N64 Mario. '96. Yeah, so this correlates, right? Mario 64 becoming a 3D open world the way it is evolutionary to what Grand Theft Auto did, right? So what Grand Theft Auto did, and then what Super Mario did, and then what they turned Grand Theft Auto into, sort of like a Super Mario 64 type of thing, 3D open world type of thing, is just next level, right? And then they took it and just ran with it. They just ran with it, man. Silent Scope was a good game, Travis. Yeah, you just run around, just do whatever in that game. You just do whatever in Grand Theft Auto. I loved it. It was a fun game. Me and Sarge used to go around, it's called Grand Theft Auto, and there used to be a list of cars you would try to go find and steal, and that's what we used to do. Try to find that whole list. I can't wait for Grand Theft Auto 6. I can't wait. That's a game that comes around once a decade, you know what I mean? All right. I think we're done for the day. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Great conversation this morning. Great interactive chat. I do appreciate you guys coming out. If you'd like to help me out, hit that like button. It's absolutely free. Helps us out as a small channel. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, hit the subscribe button. That also helps. And if you want to go above and beyond that, you become a member, which most of you are. That helps us out. It's $5 a month. I do appreciate you guys very much for coming out and hanging out with us this morning. We did cover a couple different stories this morning. You can go check out the beginning. I tell you what it is. We covered the what's it called? The Xbox. We talked about Hogwarts Legacy, about the sales and the numbers are discrepancy a little bit from the PlayStation 4 to the Xbox. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One to the next gen. I thought they would sell more on the old gen, but apparently not. We talked about that. We talked about the CMA and the EU going through with the actual AOK for Microsoft. We talked about developers, and you guys brought up some stories in topics in chat. And we went down nostalgia lane here with some Nintendo talk and old video games and whatnot. I appreciate you very much for coming out, hanging out with us. And I'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern for some more video game action. All right? Peace.